Priya, unmute
Good
yourself.
morning, sir.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So let me start. In our morning lecture, we discussed Coulomb law in vector form, and in the Coulomb law, we find that force on one charge that was exactly equal and opposite to the force on the other charge. And what was the reason? The reason was very clear from these two quantities. R12 was equal to minus R21. So actually what is R12? R1 is the position vector from 1 to 2, from charge 1 to 2. Okay, and R21, that was the position vector from 2 to 1, from charge 2 to 1. So because these two position vectors, they were in opposite direction, so R12 was equal to minus R21. So from this we got F21 is equal to minus F12. So we can say Coulomb law in vector form that if force on 2 due to 1 is equal to minus F12, so it means both the charges, they are static charges, they have the fixed position vector R12 and R21 but in opposite direction, and due to this alignment of the position vector in the opposite direction, we get these two forces which are in opposite direction. So you see F12 is left handed, it is moving in the left side, and F21 it is right handed, it is moving in the right side. So what is the meaning of that? Both the charges, they are like charges, they are repelling each other. So this was the Coulomb law in vector form for two like charges. Similarly, we can find out Coulomb law for unlike charges. Means we will take one charge as positive and other charge as negative. So we will get the same result. When we are taking the one charge as positive, suppose q1 is taken as positive and q2 is taken as negative. So what will happen? Both the charges, they will attract each other. So this force due to q1 on q2, that will be right handed force, and force due to 2 on 1, that will left handed force. So again the forces, they will be opposite. Okay, they will be opposite. And one more thing, if we take the magnitude of the forces, the magnitude of the force, let me take in my next slide, magnitude of the forces that is given simply without any vector. अब कोई vector use नहीं होगा, simply the magnitude of F21, that will be equal to F12. What it means? It means that both the forces, they are equal forces. So if the both the forces are equal, so it means both the charges, they are equal. Q1 is equal to Q2. So that's why F21 is equal to F12 is equal to F. So it means both the, when both the charges, they are point charges, they are like or alike charges, but their magnitude is same. If the magnitude of the charges is same, then the magnitude of the forces, whether it is a attractive or repulsive force, that will be also the same. Okay. And we know the magnitude of the forces, that is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught q1 q2 upon r square, or this epsilon naught that describe these forces F21 and F12. So how much F21 is allowed to pass through the air, that is decided by epsilon naught. So epsilon naught is the factor which decides how much force will pass through the air from one charge to another charge. That is decided by this epsilon naught. This whole thing is a constant, and this is called k. And the value of this k, because value of epsilon naught, we know that it is 8.854 into 10 raised to the power minus 12. Okay. And when we multiply that value with pi 3.14 and 4, and then finally all the things they are divided by 1, then we get 9 into 10 raised to the power 9. So on the place of 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, we will use in our numericals 9 into 10 raised to the power 9, q1 q2 upon r square. So if q1 is equal to q2 is equal to q, so I will write 9 into 10 raised to the power 9 q square upon r square. 9 into 10 raised to the power 9 q square upon r square. Suppose both the charges they are of 1 coulomb, both the charges q1 is equal to 1 coulomb, q2 is also equal to 1 coulomb. So 1 coulomb into 1 coulomb, again it is 1 coulomb. And if they are separated by a distance of 1 meter, so this is 1 square upon 1. So what I will get? I will get only 9 into 10 raised to the power 9 Newton. So the force between the two charges of 1 coulomb separated by a distance of 1 meter, then the force of attraction or the force of repulsion between them, that will be 9 into 10 raised to the power 9 Newton only. Now try these questions. Coulomb force is true only for dash charges. Anyone? Coulomb force is true only for dash charges. Moving, static, both A and B, none of these. Because we are studying electrostatic. So Coulomb force is true only for Anjali.
Yes, sir.
Coulomb force is true only for which type of charge?
Static.
Yes, static charge. Static charge means charge in rest. The force of attraction or repulsion between two stationary point charges is dash to the product of their charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Force of attraction or repulsion between two point charges is dash to the product of. सबसे पहले मैंने बताया था F is dash Q1 Q2, तो क्या बोलेंगे उसको? इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल, इक्वल, डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल, इज ग्रेटर देन. विच इज ट्रू? फोर्स किसके क्या होगी? चार्जेस के क्या होगी? प्रोडक्ट ऑफ चार्जेस Q1 Q2 के डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल होगी, इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल होगी, इक्वल होगी या ग्रेटर देन होगी? क्या होगा? प्रिया, प्रिया अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ. प्रिया अनम्यूट.
Sir, A.
रॉन्ग. फोर्स इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल डिस्टेंस के होती है, चार्जेस के तो डायरेक्टली होगी ना. यहाँ पे देखो
Yes,
प्रोडक्ट
sir.
ऑफ देयर चार्जेस, प्रोडक्ट ऑफ देयर चार्जेस, तो चार्जेस और फोर्सेस का तो डायरेक्ट रिलेशन है ना, वो इनवर्सली तो डिस्टेंस का होता है. तो यहाँ पे प्रोडक्ट ऑफ देयर चार्जेस का पूछा गया है ना. इनवर्सली प्रोपोर्शनल टू स्क्वायर ऑफ द डिस्टेंस, ये तो ऑलरेडी स्टेटमेंट में है. सो क्या आएगा आंसर? आंसर क्या होगा? डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल.
Directly proportional.
ठीक है ना, डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल. एफ इज डायरेक्टली प्रोपोर्शनल टू प्रोडक्ट ऑफ द टू चार्जेस Q1 into Q2. The condition that should satisfy for Coulomb law is, Coulomb law के लिए कौन सी कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई होनी जरूरी है? इट इज ओनली ट्रू फॉर स्टैटिक चार्जेस. ये तो बिल्कुल ठीक है कि Coulomb law तभी अप्लाई कर सकते हैं व्हेन वी आर डीलिंग विद द स्टैटिक चार्जेस. ये तो करेक्ट है. It act along the line joining the two charges considered to be point charges. ये भी बिल्कुल सही है कि जो फोर्स लगेगी, जो कूलम फोर्स लगेगी, वो उन चार्जेस की लाइन ज्वाइनिंग पे ही अप्लाई होगी, लाइन ज्वाइनिंग पे ही फोर्स ट्रेवल करेगी. सो ये भी सही है. तो ऑप्शन क्या होगा? बोथ
Both A and B.
बोथ ए एंड बी. बिल्कुल, क्योंकि कूलम लॉ इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक का पार्ट है और इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक में चार्जेस का स्टैटिक होना जरूरी है. और उसके बाद चलो चार्जेस स्टैटिक तो हो गए, उसके बाद ये भी जरूरी है कि दोनों चार्जेस पॉइंट चार्जेस हों. और अगर दोनों चार्जेस पॉइंट चार्जेस होंगे तो उनके बिटवीन जो फोर्स होगी वो उनके जो लाइन जॉइनिंग है, जिस लाइन के अलोंग दोनों चार्जेस कनेक्टेड हैं, उसी लाइन पे ही फोर्स ट्रेवल करेगी, उसी लाइन पे ही फोर्स अप्लाई होगी, चाहे वो अट्रैक्टिव फोर्स हो चाहे रिपल्सिव फोर्स हो, लाइन जॉइनिंग पे ही अप्लाई होगी। सो बोथ ए एंड बी। नेक्स्ट टॉपिक इज चार्ज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन। अब हमने ये तो डिस्कस कर लिया कि भाई चार्ज हमारा रेस्ट में है, दो चार्जेस रेस्ट में है, देयर इज ए फोर्स बिटवीन देम, उस फोर्स की मैग्नीट्यूड कूलम लॉ से हमने निकाल ली, उस फोर्स का वेक्टर फॉर्म हमने निकाल लिया कि बोथ द फोर्सेस दे आर इक्वल एंड अपोजिट फोर्सेस, वेदर द चार्जेस आर लाइक चार्जेस और वेदर द चार्जेस आर अनलाइक चार्जेस। So in both the situation we have equal and opposite forces. Now how the charges they can be distributed, how the static charges they can be distributed over any body, whether the body is conducting or non-conducting. So we will study the charge distribution. So first is uniform charge distribution, and we have three objects. One is a sphere, other is a rod type object, and then it is a circle or it is a sphere. So how we can say that charge is distributed uniformly? When charge is not accumulated in some area or some parts of the body. Now you see this square, in the left side we have three charges, in the right side we have three charges, in top of the square three charges, middle of the square three charges, and the bottom of the square three charges. So if you see any part of the square, we have equal amount of charges present there. So this is the example of uniform charge distribution. Similarly, if you take a rod, uniformly all the positive charges at equidistant from each other, they are placed on this rod. So this is another example of a uniform charge distribution. हाँ, अगर यहाँ पे एट द टॉप ऑफ दिस रोड तीन चार चार्जेस यहाँ इकट्ठे होते और नीचे सिर्फ दो ही चार्जेस होते, सो ये नॉन यूनिफॉर्म चार्ज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन हो जाता। बट यहाँ पे ऐसा नहीं है, किसी भी एरिया को स्टडी किया जाए, उस एरिया में इस रोड के किसी भी लेंथ सेगमेंट को लिया जाए, उस लेंथ सेगमेंट पे उतना ही चार्ज है जितना अनदर लेंथ सेगमेंट पे है। फॉर एग्जांपल यू टेक दिस लेंथ सेगमेंट, यहाँ पे एक सिंगल चार्ज है, ये लेंथ सेगमेंट यहाँ पे भी उतना ही चार्ज है। यू टेक एनी लेंथ सेगमेंट हैविंग द सेम चार्ज, so it is the example of uniform charge distribution. Similarly, you take this circle. So again, in the circle, in all parts, in any area of the circle, in any segment of the circle, in any part of the circle, the magnitude of charge is same. So again, this is the example of uniform charge distribution. What about non-uniform charge distribution? We take any arbitrary shape object and the object is having sharp edges at the top and at the bottom. So where the sharp edges are there, definitely the charge density will be more. I told you in my previous lecture, charge density is equal to charge upon area, where area is small, and you see in this corner, small area is small, here in the middle area is large, here area is small, so more and more charges they will accumulate at the sharp edges. So this is the example of non-uniform charge distribution. At some area charges are large, at some area the charges are small. So non-uniform distribution of charges. Now there is one more physical quantity which is called charge density, like density which is mass upon volume. We can define the charge density also. So charge density again, that is a charge upon volume. It is mass density which is mass upon volume. So how the mass is distributed, that is defined in terms of mass density. But how the charge is distributed, that is defined in terms of charge density. How the charge is distributed, that is in terms of charge density. How the mass is distributed, that is in terms of mass density. So charge density means charge upon volume. So charge present in any volume, that is charge density. Now type of charge density. The first is called the linear charge density. Second is surface charge density. And third is volume charge density. So linear charge density means when the charge is distributed over a line. Surface charge density when the charge is distributed over a surface. And volume charge density when the charge is distributed over a volume. So let us study all these charge densities one by one. So linear charge density, which is represented by a Greek letter lambda, there is a fixed uh, representation of linear charge density in physics. It is represented by lambda, and lambda is a charge upon length, charge distributed over a length. For example, we take a road. How the charge is distributed over a road of length L, and total charge is Q. How this total charge Q, it may be 10 coulomb, it may be 20 coulomb. How the total charge of 10 coulomb or 20 coulomb is distributed or spreaded over the length L. So that is represented by a term linear charge density. Lambda is equal to charge over length. But if we convert this road into a ring, if we bend the road and having the same charge q and bend this road into a ring of radius r, then how the charge density can be represented? Again, we will take the help of linear charge density, charge upon length. Now, what is the length? It is a circumference of this ring having radius r, which is 2 pi r. So, lambda is equal to charge upon length, and length is 2 pi r. So, linear charge density of a ring, initially it was a road, now it is converted into a ring of radius small r. So, lambda is equal to charge on a small element. This is a general definition. Lambda is equal to charge on small element and length of the element. So how we can write charge on a small element? Small element dl. You take any small part of the road, the total length of the road is L, which is made up of very infinitely small length dl, 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 dl. The total charge over the road is q, and this q is spreaded uniformly on every infinitely small element dl, and on every small infinity element having the length dl, the charge is dq. So dq placed on dl, another dq placed on another dl, another dq. So this dq, 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 and if I move from one part of the road to the other part of the road, then all the dq, they are added algebraically, and finally they will give this q, this q. And similarly, all the dl, you start from any end, all the dl, 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 they are added, and finally they will give the total length L. So lambda is equal to charge on small element over length of the element. So lambda is equal to dq upon dl. This formula is very important, and in numericals it will help us a lot. Now, what are the units? Because charge is in coulomb and length is in meter, so linear charge density coulomb per meter. And you can find out its dimension, because L is in the denominator, so it can be written as L raised to the power minus 1, and dq, because it's a derived unit, so I will take the help of fundamental unit, which is called the current. So current is equal to charge upon time. So from there I can find out dq is equal to current into time. So current is in ampere, so ampere is represented by I. So I power 1 time power 1, and there is no mass. There is no mass. So the dimensional formula is L raised to the power minus 1, m0, t raised to the power 1, and I, which is from ampere, I raised to the power 1. So in this way, we can find out the dimensions also. Second is surface charge density, charge per unit area. Now, rather than taking the road, we will take a surface, which is represented by sigma is equal to charge upon area. So let us take a disk, because we have to take the area. So I will take a disk having area A and radius R, charge Q. So how it can be written? Q upon area of the disk, which is pi r square, because r is the radius. So I will write sigma is equal to Q upon pi r square, where pi r square is the area of the disk having charge Q distributed over it. And you can see the Q is distributed uniformly. Now, if I break this disk into small elements, so how I will define my sigma? So sigma is equal to charge on small element, area of small element. So sigma is equal to dq upon dA. Now I take small area element of this disk, and every small area element is represented by dA, and on every dA we have a small charge dq. So how I can write surface charge density over a very small element of the disk, that can be written as sigma is equal to dq, the small charge on the small area element dA. Now we can write the unit. Charge is in coulomb and area is in meter square. So units are coulomb per meter square. We can write the dimensional formula also. So charge I will take the from current. So Q is equal to I into T. I into T means ampere, and this is written as I raised to the power 1. T means T raised to the power 1. No mass, and area is meter square. Meter square means L square, because it is in denominator, so it can be written as L raised to the power minus 2. Now finally, volume charge density, charge per unit volume, how the charge is distributed over the volume. So let us take a sphere having volume V. So this is my sphere having volume V, radius of the sphere is R, and total charge present over the sphere is Q. Very simply we can write this is rho. In area, in previous case we were taking sigma for area element, rho for volume. So I will speak out rho is equal to Q upon volume, and volume of the sphere is 4 upon 3 pi r cube. So I will write rho is equal to Q upon 4 by 3 pi r cube. Now in terms of small element, rho is equal to charge on the small element, and what is the small volume element in this case? It is dV, because this total V, total volume, is made up of infinitely small volume elements, each having the volume dV, and over each dV charge is dQ. So in terms of small element, we will write rho is equal to dQ upon dV, and its units are coulomb per meter cube. And in dimension formula again, Q, that will be written in terms of current multiplied time. So current is I raised to the power 1, time is T raised to the power 1, and there is no mass, and volume is L into L into L. So length cube, it is in denominator. So when it go to the numerator, it becomes L raised to the power minus 3. Now all these things, they are in this tabular form. Linear charge density represented by lambda, surface charge density represented by sigma, volume charge density represented by rho. So here we take the example of a road when we are taking the linear charge density, and the surface charge density we will take the example of a disk, and in volume charge density we will take the example of a sphere. So just recap of all the three types of charge distribution. So lambda is equal to Q upon L, sigma is equal to Q upon A, rho is equal to Q upon V. Units, charge is in coulomb, length in meter, charge in coulomb, area meter square, again charge in coulomb, volume meter cube. And dimensions, because Q is equal to I into T. So this is I, which is from current, this is time, no mass, L raised to the power minus 1. Similarly here, Q is equal to I into T. So I into T, no mass, and area is L square. So when it go to the numerator, it becomes L raised to the power minus 2. Similarly, Q is equal to I into T. So I into T, no mass, because mass is not present in the numerator as well as denominator. So no mass, m raised to the power 0. Volume is L cube. So it can be written as L raised to the power minus 3. Now lambda is equal to Q upon L because length is length. Sigma is equal to Q upon area. Area of the disk is pi r square. And rho is equal to Q upon volume because volume is 4 by 3 pi r cube. You just make it correct, 4 by 3 pi r cube. General formula in, if we take small element of the road, each having the length dl, then how we can write the linear charge density dq upon dl. Similarly, when we are taking the surface area and very small infinitely area elements are there having each charge dq, it can be written as sigma is equal to dq upon dA. Likewise, we can write in terms of volume elements having small volume elements dV having charge dq. So rho is equal to dq upon dV. So this was just a recap of all the three types of charge distribution in the tabular form. Now some questions for you. Surface charge density is denoted by, anyone? Surface charge density is denoted by, Anjali, unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
Priya, unmute yourself. Priya,
Sir, alpha.
alpha. Surface charge sigma, this is lambda, this is rho, this is for linear charge, this is for volume. So for surface it is sigma. So option D.
Sir, sigma.
Sigma, yes, sigma. The unit of linear charge density क्या होगा? Linear charge, lambda is equal to charge upon length. Charge is in coulomb, length is in meter. So what will be the answer?
Sir, A.
Yes. The dimensions of volume charge density, क्या होंगे volume charge density के dimension? Charge upon volume. Charge हो गया current into time.
Sir, D.
Yes. Yes. Very good. Let me check how much time we have. Okay. Now forces between multiple charges. In the Coulomb law, we studied the two charges and we find the force between them. We find the force between them in scalar form as well as in vector form. Now what will happen if we have a large number of charges distributed, multiple charges, and we are asked to find out forces between them. So what we have to do in that case when we are dealing with large number of charges? So what is the force on Q1 due to Q2, Q3, Q4, 5, 6 and up to Qn? We have n number of charges distributed on a body and we are asked to find out charge on a force on a single charge. It may be Q1, it may be Q2. Q1 पे पूछ सकते हैं कि बाकी सारे चार्जेस के कारण कितनी फोर्स होगी. Q3 पे पूछ सकते हैं कि बाकी सारे चार्जेस के कारण कैसे फोर्स निकालनी है. So Coulomb law is not enough to answer this question. सिर्फ कूलम लॉ से बात नहीं बनेगी। कूलम लॉ सिर्फ दो चार्जेस के बीच की फोर्स को ही कैलकुलेट कर पाएगा, बट व्हेन वी आर डीलिंग विद large number of charges or multiple charges, and we are asked to find out the force on any charge due to rest of the charges, then how to proceed? So experimentally it is verified that force on any charge due to a number of other charges, it is simply the vector sum of all the forces on that charge due to other charges. सिंपल है बिल्कुल ही। जैसे सपोज वी हैव 5 चार्जेस Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5, all the charges randomly they are distributed over some body। हमें निकालना है कि एक कोई चार्ज हमने चूज किया, सपोज हमने चार्ज 1 चूज किया, और इस चार्ज 1 पे बाकी सारे चार्जेस के कारण फोर्स निकालनी है। सो पहले मैं चेक करूंगा कि Q1 और Q2 के बीच की फोर्स क्या होगी। सो उसके लिए क्या चाहिए, Q1 और Q2 के बीच की फोर्स और Q1 और Q2 के बीच का डिस्टेंस कितना है। सो Q1 Q2 डिवाइडेड बाय डिस्टेंस बिटवीन Q1 एंड Q2 स्क्वायर। सो मान लिया वो फोर्स मेरे पास आ गई F12, है ना। ऐसे ही मैं फोर्स ऑन 1 ड्यू टू 3 निकालूंगा, ऐसे ही मैं फोर्स ऑन 1 ड्यू टू 4 निकालूंगा, ऐसे ही फोर्स ऑन 1 ड्यू टू 5 निकालूंगा। तो मेरे पास फोर्सेस का सेट आ जाएगा। फोर्स ऑन 1 ड्यू टू 2 F12, फोर्स ऑन 1 ड्यू टू 3 F13, फोर्स ऑन 1 ड्यू टू 4 F14, फोर्स ऑन 1 ड्यू टू 5 F15। सो ये मेरे पास आ गई। अब इन सब फोर्सेस को वेक्टर एडिशन करना है, सिंपल एडिशन करना है, एंड देन आई विल फाइंड आउट द नेट फोर्स। एक तो ये मेथड है, या सिंपली इन सबको ऐड कर देंगे। दैट इज कॉल्ड द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ सुपरपोजिशन। दैट इज कॉल्ड प्रिंसिपल ऑफ सुपरपोजिशन। सो प्रिंसिपल ऑफ सुपरपोजिशन मीन्स सिंपल एडिशन करना है F12 प्लस F13 plus F14 plus F15. So simply addition, which is called principle of superposition, that will give the net force on charge 1 due to rest of the charges. Let us do one problem. So we have charges Q1, Q2 and Q3, and this is our origin O. Now Q1, the position vector of Q1 from the origin is R1. The position vector of Q1 from Q2 is R12, and the position vector of Q3 from Q1 is R13। और हमें निकालना है force on 1 due to Q2 as well as due to Q3। So how we will find? So we will find very easily. Now first we will find force on 1 due to Q. So force on 1 due to Q, it is F12 and it is in the right side. Q2 is repelling Q1 by a force F12. So this is F12 in the right side. Similarly, force on 1 due to 3. So it is F13. Now very easily we can say it is F12 vector in this direction, F13 vector in this direction. So resultant of these two forces, resultant of F12 and F13, that will be in between these two. So this is F1. Now what will be F1? F1, that will be simply the addition of these two, F12 plus F13. Now, if we have large number of charges like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5, again with the help of principle of superposition, we will find out force on 1 due to 2, force on 1 due to 3, force on 1 due to 4, force on 1 due to 5, and then all these force vector F12, F13, F14, F15, they will give a net force, and that net force that will be the algebraic sum or the vector sum of all these forces. So when we will deal with the numerical of these problems, then we will make it very clear how to find out the net force due to rest of the charges on a single charge. Now, in this case, F12 can be written as F12 is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2, because force on 1 due to 2, so we are taking Q1 and Q2 as the two charges, and distance between them R12 square, and this is the unit vector. Unit vector means from 1 to 2, because we are taking the vector method. So left hand side is a vector, so right hand side is also a vector. So force on 1 due to 2, that can be written as 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 upon R12 square, with R12 as unit vector. If I do not use this unit vector, then the left hand side, that will be a vector quantity, but right hand side, that will be only a square. So to make right hand side also a vector, we will take a unit vector R12, a unit vector. Similarly, we can find out F13. F13 is also equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. Now here it is Q1 Q3. It is not Q2, it is Q3. It is wrongly written as Q2, but it is because we are studying force on 1 due to third charge. So we will take Q1 Q3. Q1 Q3. So 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q3 R13 square and R13 unit vector. So we will add these, and then we will find out the net force F1 is equal to F12 plus F13. This is a simple addition. So finally we will get this result. F1 force on 1 due to other charges, force on 1 due to 2, force on 1 due to 3. So we can find out force on 1 due to 2 and 3, 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q2 or R1 square or 1 2 unit vector. This is plus, not equal, plus 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Q3 R13 square and R13 unit vector. So this is called principle of superposition to find out the net force on one charge due to rest of the charges. Because here we are taking only three charges, we can take more than three charges, we can take any number of charges. So by doing the same method, we can find out force on nth charge. So how we will write that? Force on nth charge, force on first charge due to nth charge. So force on first charge, how I will write F1n, force on first charge due to nth charge, and that will be equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon Q1 Qn divided by R1n square multiply R1n unit vector. So that will be the force on first charge due to the nth charge. So I will write dash 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 and 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 Qn divided by R1n square into R1n unit vector. So finally, for nth charge, we can write F1 is equal to F12 plus F13 up to F1n. So this is the same pattern. I can take out 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught common, and then even I can take out Q1 also common, because Q1 is under observation. Force on Q1 due to rest of the charges Q2, Q3 up to Qn. So Q1 can be taken outside, and then we can make our final equation. Summation I is equal to 1 to n Qi R1i square R1i. So by placing the value of I from 1 to n, we can find out all these things. Now here is a quiz for you. We have only less than 1 minute, so we will do this quiz in our next lecture. Okay. So we have only two
Yes, sir.
students, Anjali and Priya. We will continue with the same quiz in our next lecture tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Bye.